I think I'm muted. That will work a little bit better. Welcome to another edition of the Daily Bullet, everyone. My name is Paul Lathrop. I'm the Deputy Director of New Media for the Second Amendment Foundation. I am just trying to get social media feedback set up so I can see what you're saying and put your comments up on the air so I can discuss them. Today's going to be a little different. For the first few minutes, I'm going to be alone. Mike Piwowarski of Arms Room Radio will be joining me in just a little bit. I got a couple things I want to discuss with you real quick. First of all, I want to make a little bit of fun of New Jersey. Governor Murphy wants several gun bills to go through in New Jersey. One of them is a 50 caliber ban, and the reason he wants a ban on 50 caliber rifles in New Jersey is because he says they've been used to take down airplanes. I don't know what universe Mr. Murphy is in, but the last time I am aware of a 50 caliber round taking down an airplane, the 50 caliber round being fired from the ground, was over the Pacific in the late 1940s. We're talking World War II. And that was the 50 caliber rounds were launched from our ships against kamikaze pilots. So it's been, 80 years now almost since a 50 cal round has taken down an airplane. And yet all of a sudden now, New Jersey thinks they need to outlaw 50 caliber rifles. Yeah, that's smarts for you. Second thing, and I was in a bunch of I was in the hospital a lot today for tests and to meet with some doctors. And the Derek Chauvin trial is wrapping up in Minnesota. The closing arguments started today. I expect very soon for that to go to the jury, and I haven't followed the trial as closely as I would like, but I would expect Chauvin to be found not guilty when the jury comes back, and I expect that will create a lot of unrest in city streets around the United States. I want to make a suggestion for you. I'm going to bring up, I use this all the time myself. I'm going to bring up Google Maps. This is not anywhere close to my home. This is New York City. As you can see, as we zoom out, it's very obvious it's New York City. But I want to zoom in a little closer. As you get in closer, you will eventually see that you're going to see red areas where traffic is backed up. Maybe I need to zoom out a little bit and maybe come over a little bit here. I'm following I-95, the Cross Bronx Expressway. It will, I'm sure, prove to me in a minute of my point, and that is when traffic is backed up, you're going to start to see red lines along the roadways on the map. Any of you who've used Google Maps a lot will recognize those lines. And this is odd. This is maybe a first time in history, folks. I'm looking for traffic backups in New York City, and believe it or not, New York City is not cooperating with me. It looks like traffic's flowing pretty good at 5 p.m. Central Time, 6 p.m. on the East Coast in New York City. What I'm going to recommend to you for the next several days, if you live in a major city, that you take a look at Google Maps before you go anywhere. And if you see an area that's got a lot of red there where cars are stopped, you don't go that way. Stay away from anywhere where there's traffic backups and a lot of traffic stopped. Because if civil unrest happens, there's north of a 90% chance that's where it's at. Now, your car is going to be a much better tool for your protection than anything you can strap on your hip should something bad happen. Uh, it is a fantastic escape tool, and it's even not a bad offensive tool if somebody starts doing things like trying to assault you inside your car. I agree with Guns and Barbecue. I'm going to go ahead and put my beautiful face back up, and we're going to go ahead and put a comment up. Guns and Barbecue says at this time of day it should be a traffic nightmare in New York. As a truck driver that was there this time of day, I totally agree. I'm shocked that there isn't a lot of traffic problems in New York City right now. Uh, George Geller says you need to turn on your traffic layer. I thought I had. Let me go back there and make sure that's turned on. Yeah, it should be. I do not. Let's see here. Map. Why am I? I do not know why I'm not getting tracked. I can do it on my phone in a half a heartbeat, but switching to the desktop creates all kinds of issues for me. So I don't know. It's for some reason, yeah, traffic should just be backed up like crazy in New York City, and I apparently didn't spend enough time um, doing this beforehand. Um, all right, I'm not going to waste a whole lot more time with that. So, going back to social. Uh, Guns and Barbecue says ran flatbed on the East Coast almost 6 years before going blind. Staring at all that traffic, man, I can understand why that might happen. DJ Play Nice says public transportation. Public transportation's great. And New York City has got the subways. I don't know about you folks, but I wouldn't take them. There's no way you get me on a New York City subway. There's not enough money in the world. You couldn't pay me enough to take those. You're quite literally putting your life in the hands of every other person on that subway car. Yeah, George says we can do our own Google Maps. Yeah, and George, and as George says, everybody, when you do your Google Maps, make sure that traffic layer is turned on. I leave it on mine by default. And if you can avoid any areas where there's a bunch of red lines on your map, do it simply because A, it's going to save you time. B, it's going to possibly help you avoid any areas of unrest. I want to go back to one other thing, and that is your car is a much, much better tool to keep you safe than anything you can strap on your hip. Use your brain, stay away from places where there are active protests. Should you happen to get surprised and you find yourself surrounded, um, I'm gonna suggest you use your car for what it was designed for, getting down the road. Back up, turn around if you can. I don't care if you're going the wrong way down a one-way street. I don't. It doesn't matter if you take an illegal right on red. I don't care. Get away from there. Do anything you can to safely extricate yourself from that situation. If you wind up in an area and there's an active protest going on, things are just simply not going to go very well for you at all. I need to bring up the correct. There we go. Joining me now, just fresh home from work. He was messaging me just before we went on air. he got trapped behind a traffic accident. There was all kinds of red on his Google Maps. I'm just about betting. Mike Piwowarski, he is one of the people behind Arms Room Radio and the new show, The Rundown, that he and Craig DeLuz are doing.
Hey, Paul. Thanks for your patience.
Yeah.
Yeah, the traffic was crazy.
Yeah, well, it's Central Florida, man. What do you expect? It's not New York City, but it's there. Everybody in Central Florida is from New York City, so
That's really the problem. There, everybody in Florida is from somewhere else, so they all learn to drive somewhere else. And when they come to us, it's just a horrible mix of different driving skills. We'll say that.
yeah. Let's. I want to talk real quick. I was giving Governor Murphy of New Jersey a hard time a little bit ago. One of the fixes he wants to make in New Jersey, he wants to make 50 caliber rifles illegal because apparently people are shooting down airplanes and or there's the ability for people to shoot down airplanes. I didn't know that that was a huge problem in New Jersey.
No, no, you would think not, right? But who knows with New Jersey? I mean, you end up with the craziest stuff going on there, and that's clearly what's happening, right?
Right, because you know they would not create laws just to disarm another segment of the population. Just because they don't like a particular uh, caliber, they would never create a law just to get rid of that one caliber without solid proof that it's doing harm.
Yeah, again in New Jersey. Listen, where's the proof? Show us that there's been anything with this caliber. Show us that there's anything going on at all, and then there's not. This is just Phil Murphy's further attempt to just deprive the citizens of the last few bits of rights they have left, for firearms in the state of New Jersey. It's just so typical.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Today, because it's a different day. Mike's just getting home, and I've been in doctors and getting tests done all day long. I haven't had a whole lot of time to do show prep. So, folks, if you want us to go in a particular direction, just comment on either the Facebook or the YouTube feed, and mention something you want talked about, and we'll go ahead and we'll get that up and talk about it. Uh, George Geller says, I drove twice in New York City. The first time I was hit by a fella high on drugs with no license, insurance, or registration. New car with 1,000 on the odometer totaled. Second time, the car was burglarized. That seems about right. First time I drove a big truck in New York City, I witnessed a car narrowly miss me and nail four other cars on I-95 as it was trying to escape. It eventually did escape with one tire completely flat running on the rim. And it escaped because it slowed traffic down behind it so much it stopped and the police couldn't make it there in time.
Listen, it's obviously an incredible place to drive, and most people I know listen. That if you live in the city proper, either Manhattan or one of the boroughs, there's a lot of people, Paul, that don't drive. I mean, just never had a car, never drive, don't get
Right.
a driver's license till they find out they have to leave the city. The one thing I'll tell you that New York City driving prepared me for was driving in Kabul, Afghanistan, and the rest of that country over there, where there are no traffic laws and the roads suck, and you're literally just doing everything you can to stay alive. It's total offensive driving, and you know what? That's what the city prepares you for.
Sure. I believe it. I believe it. One other topic I was starting to go off on, Mike, and I'd like you as a former police officer, as a former soldier that has served in places like Afghanistan. One thing I said was, if you're going to be going somewhere, pull up Google Maps. If there's some place along your route with a lot of red on it for the traffic, avoid that area because if there are protests and they're stopping traffic, you don't want to be anywhere near that. Any advice you could give people on avoiding social unrest when they're out and traveling?
Yeah, listen, plan your routes, just like Paul said. You find yourself a primary route, find yourself an alternate route. Check whether you're using Google Maps or you're using Waze, whatever it happens to be, and avoid those. And be careful because on your map it may not tell you, road blocked due to social justice gathering or some crap like that. It's just going to tell you that it's slowed down, and that might be your typical place that you don't have traffic, so you'd be unaware. So you got to be careful. You got to pay attention to what's going on with your surroundings and make sure you don't go. Today was a gamble for me, Paul. I was trying to get back here on a certain time, and I knew
Yeah.
if I did everything perfect, I'd make it. If I didn't, I was going to hit that choke point, and I did. But folks, listen, if you find yourself in one of those places where you're stuck and you're getting surrounded, um, listen, you've got to do what you got to do to get out. But know that obviously the way the legal system is looking at it right now, you're going to be the one at the disadvantage. So you've got to try and get out of there with the least amount of, let's call it, force used as possible, the nicest way possible. You've got to get you, your family, and your vehicle out of there. Unless, of course, you're in the great state of Florida, where a governor signed a new law today that says the driver has no civil liability if he runs over people in a crowd that try to stop his vehicle.
There you go. I love that law. I absolutely love that law. I want to, as a professional driver, I'm going to offer a little bit of advice. I drove professionally for 20 years. When you're traveling in regular traffic and you come to a stoplight, a normal stoplight or a stop sign or anywhere where you've got to stop your vehicle in public, if there's a car in front of you, stop so that you can see the pavement directly underneath the bumper or the back end of whatever vehicle's in front of you. Almost all vehicles, if you do that, if you encounter a situation, you've got to go, you can go wheel lock left or wheel lock right, hit the throttle, and you will go around the car in front of you without hitting them. Now, there could be curbs, there could be a few other things, but let's face it, in a riot situation, I'm not that concerned about your car. Most cars will jump a curb without much of a problem. Get out of there. Your car can be repaired. Make sure you're safe. Um,
You're right, Paul.
Go ahead.
I take it for advantage because I do it so often. Every time I stop my vehicle, there's always getaway room in front of me.
Mm-hmm.
It's always there. And you asked me, and I completely overlooked it. But that's exactly right. Great advice, folks. Listen to what Paul's saying. Give yourself the escape room.
Exactly. Uh, David Delgado says topic possibly delays in LTC applications processing. Submitted more than a month ago and still waiting on my local PD. A lot of that has to depend, Daniel, on what city and state you're in. Some states in Illinois they have statutory 30 days they need to respond. And the Second Amendment Foundation, along with the Illinois State Rifle and Pistol Association, are currently in a lawsuit against the state of Illinois, the state police, and several local jurisdictions, trying to force them to move that process along faster. I don't know if that's an option where you're at, Daniel, but if it's been a lot longer than 30 days, you may want to discuss it with an attorney. Um,
Yeah, I know that we've seen the same gone on in New Jersey. Speaking of New Jersey earlier, that they have that 30 days, but they're pulling the whole. Well, listen, we don't have the resources or COVID. I do know that a call to your state organization, your state organization, if not Second Amendment Foundation, but a lot of times the states handle it. I know in New Jersey, it's New Jersey Second Amendment Society does a great job. They'll call up that police department and put them on notice, and that's usually enough to get them back on the ball again. To get a quicker response out of them. Some places I know horror stories out of New Jersey. Guys have been waiting over a year to get their license to carry permit taken care of.
um, DJ Play Nice said, if you find yourself in a vehicle in the scenario George Geller suggested, I'm going to see here. I don't see this particular one that's referring to. But if you find yourself, despite your best efforts, in a situation where you're in a vehicle and it's stopped and there are people around you and things are looking sketchy, you've got far more experience in practical manners in something like that, Mike, than I do. I'm going to say myself, I'm going to say mass is your friend. Do not get out of your car. The car is really, really, really designed to help you. It's
Yeah,
go
yeah.
ahead.
Yeah, no, exactly right, Paul. Remember, you're looking at 5,000 pounds of weapon there. We all saw what happened. The first video evidence of this going on with Reginald Denny, and Paul, you're a truck driver. I'm sure you're very familiar with Reginald Denny during
Hmm.
the riots after the OJ verdict, and or excuse me, after the Rodney King verdict,
Right.
and it went. They pulled this poor man out of the truck, and he was disabled for the rest of his life over this. That vehicle's your friend, even if you're in the tiniest little of foreign compact cars. You still got 4 or 5 thousand pounds worth of mass there that you have the ability to do. Now, listen, folks, they start pounding on your car and putting little dents in it. You know what? I'm not sure at that point. I'd be driving over people to get away. It's you're talking about property damage as opposed to life and limb. Okay. Now, they bust a window on your car or get a
That's
door
the
open
yeah.
and they're
That then
reaching
it's go
inside
time.
to you, then it's go time. Then it's stand on it, son. That's what you need to be doing. You need to make your way out of there, you and your family. Get as quickly as you can to a safe location. Pick up that phone, call your attorney, and then call the police and let them know what happened.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm going to add one more scenario to that. If you see them with a bottle with gasoline and a rag stuffed in it, that's got that rag is lit, commonly called a Molotov cocktail, then it's go time as well. Aim for the
Oh,
Molotov
absolutely, Paul.
cocktail.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. If there's a weapon that they have that can penetrate your vehicle, you need to go. If they're picking up a gun, if they got a bat and they're getting ready to swing it at yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah, for sure.
I'm not an attorney. Do not. You should have one for yourself, but I am not an attorney. That is not legal advice. Neither Mike or I are offering legal advice today.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Best case tactical scenarios. That's about it. We're trying to help you through. Make sure you think about these things when this happens. Nothing that we have says 1 plus 2 equals 3. This is your scenario plus your situation equals your decision.
Yes, absolutely.
Paul, did we
Well,
get a chance to talk about Patriots Day today?
go do it.
Now, folks, it's that anniversary time. It's April 19th. Remember what happened on April 19th, 1775? The British soldiers marched on Lexington and Concord. As my good friend Charlie Sook said, it's not Concord, it's Concord. They marched on Lexington and Concord. They came down, and this was it. There had been taxation. There'd been the roughhousing. There'd been occupying homes. All things that we have amendments for now. But it wasn't until they came and said, "We're taking your weapons and we're taking your stores," that the Americans stood up and said, "Nope, not going to happen. Not going to happen." And that's when the shot heard round the world happened. And that was the first day. I'm sorry, that was the first day of our independence. That's when we began to come together as one with a purpose. And it was April 19th, 1775, the Battle of Lexington and Concord.
I want to bring up a point to that battle. And this is I've been kind of harping on this a lot, but I'm going to keep going because today is that day. And the British were not coming to look for the muskets of the citizens of Lexington and Concord. They were looking for cannons. They were looking for cannonball, and they were looking for the powder for the cannons.
Right.
They were not looking for muskets or musket ball. They couldn't. That was not in what they were looking for. They were coming for the cannons. So therefore, I should be able to own privately a 105 millimeter howitzer. That is what the Second
Yeah,
Amendment was about: is the 105 millimeter howitzer, the real
yeah,
anti-aircraft stuff.
yeah. And I think you should be able to order it on Amazon and get it delivered to you also.
Absolutely, absolutely. That brings Prime another whole level there, huh?
Yeah, yeah. But I guess my UPS guy is going to be suing me over his back injury. That's what's going to happen there.
I'm starting to get. We're having a Masada U Group Mag 40. coming up in June, and we're starting to get ammo deliveries to the house here. I tell anybody who gets the class they need to have 600 rounds of ammunition. Well, if you don't want to haul that with you, send it to me. I'll hold it for you. And we're starting to get ammo deliveries. And and the delivery people around here are starting to know what the Lathrop House is about and not liking me at all.
Yeah, very true. Very true. Get it to. So I'm going to send you ammo anyway, Paul. Either if I'm coming or not. I'm just,
Okay,
I'd like to have my stores set around the country in certain cache sites. So I'll just send you some anyway.
I got you covered, bud. I got you covered. George Geller says these days the Brit cops are looking for knives. Yes, they are, and that'll happen here too. If they get their way and guns become outlawed, the knives are next. And
Yeah.
all you need to do is look up some of the stupidity that goes on in London. You have to have written permission to go buy steak knives. I mean, come on.
Yeah. What? Remember, you also have to have permission to use a narwhal tusk. If you,
Wow.
if you recall the story when the attacker there in London over on the New London Bridge there went crazy with the knives, stabbing the police officer and everybody else. It was patrons in the bar that came out with a narwhal tusk off the wall, and they used that against one of the bad guys to defend themselves.
Wow. Never bring a knife to a narwhal fight.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Speaking of Patriots Day, I was talking not too long ago. I'd been up in that area in Boston, went over to Lexington and Concord, and they have the Freedom Square, and they have all the signage, and they have everything else there. And it struck me that here's a place where not only can I not carry a firearm, Paul, I can't even carry a pocket knife in that town and in that city anymore. Here it is, the cradle of our freedom, our country's freedom. And it's one of the most restrictive places now in the country if you want to take a firearm or any kind of self-defense weapon.
Wow.
Just the
That's
irony of it.
the birthplace of freedom is also where freedom goes to die.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
Holy cow. Okay.
What a difference 256 years will make, huh?
Yes, absolutely. All right, so we're coming up on the bottom of the hour. I like to keep these right at 30 minutes, and I've got to turn around and do polite society at the top of the hour. So, Mike, if you would please, what's been going on with the rundown and what have you been doing over at Arms Room?
Listen, Arms Room Radio, we're having a great time. We actually just got back from the Sun and Fun event in Lakeland, Florida. It's the second biggest air show in the country, probably third or fourth biggest in the world. And we were there looking at great products, crossover stuff that between aviation and firearms. Ear protectors, outdoor gear, survival gear, some really great stuff. The rundown is, I think we just hit our 17th episode, me and Craig DeLuz, and it's been really great. I'm learning the kinks of doing this video stuff. Paul, normally the only time I would do it is occasionally with you and occasionally on Coffee with Craig. So we're having a good time. It's on the rundown. It's the rundown.us, and it's on Facebook and the YouTube now. And we're having a good time. We're having a good time with it. We're just out there spreading the word. We're spreading our wings a little more than firearms. That's more just conservative news, firearms included, whereas the Arms Room will always be all things gun, all the gun time.
I want to get one more comment in here. George Geller says the first time I took a commercial flight was in 1966. In-flight meal was steak, and everyone got a steak knife. 50. To heck with 200 some odd years. That was what 55 years ago, and we are looking at a total change. If you bring any kind of a knife onto a plane, you're likely going away for a very long time, let alone having them hand you one.
Paul, I think the most astonishing thing about that statement is not that there was a steak knife on a plane, but that there was a meal on a plane.
DJ Play Nice says my first in-flight meal was in '76, featured some mushroom from his steak.
Oh, too good, too good.
All right. Mike, thank you again for you saved me, dude. And for everybody watching and who's been asking, I am feeling somewhat better. Uh, I have I have a lot of tests. I had a Doppler scan of my neck done today. They found problems. There's gonna be more tests this week and probably surgery. And so I cannot promise every daily bullet is going to happen right on time, but we are working on getting things back to normal. So, and I told another friend, I'm just getting to the point where I'm in my dream job. I'm beginning to make the difference I always wanted to make. And I'm really, really, really enjoying life right now. I'd kind of like to hang around and enjoy it some more. So that's, I think, where we're going to
Yeah,
leave it. Thank you, everybody,
a-
for watching. Thanks for the
absolutely.
comments.
Absolutely, Paul. We're all there for you. Whatever you need, anybody, any of us all out here, we're here. It doesn't matter what it is. We're here for you.
Sounds good, man. All right, we're going to set this one aside. Everybody, please come back and join us in 30